Just want to read three headlines that I think will sort of set the stage for what we're going to talk about here for the next little bit. I generally start my talks by reading three headlines from that morning's news and then relate each one to a larger theme that I'm going to talk about. The second headline actually is also from this morning's Journal. It says, U.S. executives remain pessimistic. Great. Here's what it says. The audience really seems to appreciate that somebody got up early that morning and did a fair amount of work for them. The best part about what I do at Fortune is that I get a 360-degree view of what's happening in the business climate. I am constantly learning about the largest issues going on any place, and I'm learning about them from the people who are making things happen. Jamie Dimon, here next to me, Chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. Muhtar Kent is Chairman and CEO of the Coca-Cola Company. Yuanqing Yang is Chairman and CEO of Lenovo Group. I get to talk to the business leaders of great corporations, the entrepreneurs who are going to disrupt business, to the government leaders who are going to help shape the environment for all of these businesses, and of course to consumers and others who are buying or not buying the goods and services from those businesses. For decades, the engine of global growth was the Western European and US and Japanese consumer. No more. Our business models used to last years, many years, maybe 100 years. And now all of them are changing. The economic environment facing business leaders is a real challenge, in large part because it's so different from everything we knew before. Every business, I don't care what business you're in, is in danger of being disrupted by a competitor they never even thought of. The disruption that can happen to a company in no time is like nothing we have ever seen before. We're in an environment where it seems like no competitive advantage is sustainable anymore. Because even the companies that seem to have ironclad competitive advantages turned out not to. I mean, everybody here can remember when Motorola ruled the world of mobile phones. And then Nokia did. And then RIM did. And now none of them do, right? And it all happened like that. Another thing that's going to last for a long time, geopolitical unrest. What's new is that there is instability among the great powers, US, China, Russia, that didn't used to be there.
Capital is leaving Russia in the past few months, over $100 billion. So the medium-term outlook here, probably stagnation. It looks hard to avoid. Prosperity for Vladimir Putin and his friends, but much less than that, at least for those who work in the real economy.
Every business person has to confront and embrace the fact that government's playing a larger role in our business lives, and it's not going to go back to the way it was. Our topic is business versus government. Recognizing the fact that every business, and particularly this industry, the tech industry broadly defined, is very heavily influenced by government policy, and there's been an awful lot of talk about which of those policies are good and which are bad, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Getting ahead of those trends is a real challenge for every business, and I don't care who you are, what business you're in. We can't be paralyzed and think that we can wait for things to settle down. It's not going to happen. We have to be active, play offense, and move forward. The way the best leaders are doing it, they innovate their business model, they manage for value, they build their human capital, and they get radically customer-centric. From where I sit, I get to see a lot of early indicators that really tell us where the economy is going. Is it going to be more consumer-focused, more savings-focused, more export-focused? I can take these bits and pieces that I get from leaders all around the world and put together a coherent view of where the economy is going. The IMF forecast for U.S. economic growth is 2.2% this year, increasing to 3.1% next year. We often forget that over the past 40 years, the U.S. economy has averaged growth of 2.8% a year. And that includes all those great years of most of the 80s, most of the 90s, the first 7 years of this century. 3.1% is terrific. We've got to face the fact that this is an era of good economic growth. It's full of opportunity. That's the new reality that we have to face. Even though the economy is growing at the rate it used to, it isn't growing in the same way it used to. Opportunity is out there, but we have to get there in a different way. And I want to suggest 3 principal changes in the way this good economy is growing, ways that we have to adapt to. For 500 years, the scarce resource in business was financial capital. It no longer is, even for capital-intensive companies. For all of us, the scarce resource is human capital. My new book is called Humans Are Underrated, and it arose out of an article I wrote for the Fortune 500 issue of Fortune, which began with the question, in the economy of 5 or 10 years from now, what will people do better than computers? We are entering an era where the skills that our economy values highly are changing in a historic way that we'll get to here in a second. Over and over, we're seeing technology taking over jobs that people used to do. Now, people will still be valuable, but we had better figure out what skills the economy will value as we go forward from here, because those are the ones that we have to get world-class great at. What will people do better than computers? The traditional approach to answering this question is to ask, well, what is it that computers just inherently cannot do? And I'm saying, don't ask that question, okay? It's the wrong way. Don't ask what computers can't do, because over and over, the answers are wrong. Instead, ask what humans are most driven to do. What are they? Well, that's becoming clear too. What we must do, even if a computer can do it too, empathize is the foundation of all else. Working in groups, telling stories, solving problems creatively, building relationships. These skills, the skills of human interaction, are going to be the most valuable. Talent is Overrated is a book about great performance, and not just really good performance, but great performance, world-class great performance, and where it really comes from. This is not a bunch of my opinions about where great performance comes from. There's 30 years of good research on it, which most people really are not well aware of. The term world-class great gets thrown around pretty easily. But in fact, increasingly, we all have to be world-class great because we're competing with everyone in the world. Standards are rising. If you really believe that you must have this natural 1 in a million gift to be great at something, then when you encounter the roadblocks, you will take it as evidence that you don't have that gift. But if you really believe that those roadblocks can be overcome, that by doing the deliberate practice you can get past them, then you have at least a chance of becoming world-class great.